Good morning. Happy New Year. Welcome to day 5 of our meditation challenge. Really I have to thank everybody. It's been such a cool start to the new year. We've got so many enthusiastic people joining us. We've had great turnouts at the beginners meditation sessions that we've been holding in the evening. Kevin did an awesome job last night. Got to listen in to our friends Valerie and Bridget, two others of our meditation instructors out in California. They led a great beginner session last night as well. Just couldn't be happier with all the people who are showing up and dedicating themselves to this practice and trying to make their lives a little bit healthier and happier and possibly more centered as we enter the new year. But I'm particularly appreciative of all my friends and the volunteers here at the New Leaf Meditation Project who make this possible. So just thank you, everybody. I mean, it's really good stuff. You know, we're going to slowly start shifting our attention away from beginners meditation and the one-on-ones, and we're going to continue the habit formation trend. But the rest of this week, we're going to start focusing a bit on some of the issues that confront us as we've been meditating for a while, or if we're trying to come back to the practice and reestablish the habit. You know, the rest of the challenge, week 2, will be about meditation in motion, how this stuff starts to mindfulness in action, how meditation starts to shape our day-to-day life. And week 3 is about happiness, and week 4 we'll do a little studying together. Yeah, well, why don't we stick with our tradition, and we can, if you want to do your 3 minutes of meditation right now, we can do it together. So, yeah. One of my favorite things about the challenges is I get to make so many new friends, get connected to a lot of new people, get to see a lot of familiar friends and old friends and people that I've been lucky enough to be practicing with for a couple of years. There's a little over 1,000 people signed up for this challenge. And I'm guessing, based on the number of emails I've been answering and from the people showing up in the discussion groups, I've probably talked to about 250 of you. I try to, sometimes it takes me a little while, but I try to answer every single email that I get, because this connection is really important to me. We're trying to form a community here, because I'm convinced, I think all of us who are really invested in this are convinced that to support and sustain a meditation practice, A, it's more joyful to have a community, and B, it's just absolutely necessary. To do something hard, we can't do it ourselves. And this practice isn't easy. And that's what leads me to what I want to talk about today. I think particularly with the experienced meditators who are involved in this challenge because they're struggling to stay consistent, or they really want to try to dedicate themselves, get a little support for being consistent and putting in 30 days to start off the new year. A little saddened when I hear how hard many of us are on ourselves. I'm worried that where people see failure and something to be critical of, I see somebody trying to live up to an aspirational ideal, who's putting in the work and the effort, taking the action to live a more positive life. That's something that should be celebrated. And I can just so deeply relate to this. I want to share a story with you. So about 4 years ago, when I was first kind of working out the kinks and trying to develop these challenges, I had it as a 21-day format. And I would start off with a meditation, a little discussion on Sundays, and then 7 days of emails. And we kind of would work through that over the course of 3 weeks. And I was asking some of my friends to do this one-on-one and kind of test it out with me, so I could get some feedback from some experienced meditators. And I had a very interesting experience. The third week, I was typically starting off with a guided meditation, a loving kindness meditation. And I had invited my friend Celia, somebody I've been meditating with for a few years, to do this with me. And I was a little tired. It was the end of a long day. And I asked her if it was okay if we did some silent meditation instead of me doing the guided meditation. She knew what meditation, loving kindness meditation was, and I didn't feel like I needed to do it with her for her to understand the concepts, because she was familiar with the practice. And she said to me, "Oh yeah, sure, silent meditation is fine." To which I said, "That's great. I hate the sound of my voice anyway," which is kind of funny for a guy who talks as much as I do, but it's true. There's something about the tone and frequency, especially when I'm listening to recordings of myself. It's like nails on chalkboard. It's really hard for me to. I think that's a common experience. Many of us struggle with hearing the sound of our own voice. And then I rang the bell, and I sat there and I meditated for 10 minutes with Celia, and all I could think to myself was, wow, that's like a really ugly thing to say. I would never say that about somebody else. I would rarely even think it. And yet here I say, I'm disgusted by something I can't change about myself. So I had to sit with that and ask myself what was behind that. I'll come at it a different way. And I think for me, no, you know what? I'll leave that story alone. So that moment was a really valuable realization. It was interesting for me because it was at the end of 2012, and my New Year's resolution in 2012 was that I was going to quit swearing. And swearing was really challenging for me, because what I discovered was it wasn't that I had a habit of swearing so much, it's that I was thoughtless and careless with my words, right? And then by slowing down, by letting my meditation practice shape my life, by taking a moment to pause before speaking and think about what I was going to say, I found that, granted it took months, I was shocked at how long it took to quit swearing, but over time I stopped making as many mistakes. When I was a little more thoughtful and patient, I was kinder, gentler, more compassionate with my language. it was this realization at the end of 2012 that I might need to start working on that with myself. And you know, the way we've been talking about this in the meditation group is, you know, there's no superhumans, there's no subhumans, there's just human humans. And it seems like, I think part of what it is for me, and I'm sure this is a little different for everybody when we're looking at that self-critical voice that we have in our head, but for me, it's a little bit of a form of egoism. It's like, well, other people, you know, they're allowed to make mistakes, but somehow I'm not allowed to make mistakes. And when I examined that in my own life, what was behind it was this expectation of exceptionalism. And, you know, maybe it's okay if I make mistakes. Maybe it's okay if I, you know, miss a day of meditation. Maybe it's worth celebrating the fact that, you know, I'm going to brush myself off and I'm going to start a challenge and I'm going to recommit myself and I'm going to keep trying to do this hard thing. A friend of mine, another meditative friend, Peter, had recommended that maybe when I was being critical of myself, I should think about how I would talk about my brother. What would I do if my brother told me he had missed a day of meditation? Would I call him a jerk and say, oh, this is just like you. Really, you can't do anything? Or would I say, oh, it's okay, bro. Like, that happens. You know, you're doing great. You've been meditating more than not. It's really challenging to make this part of your life. And you keep up the good work. I'm really glad you're reapplying yourself. But maybe I need to use some of that language on myself too. So that's our thought for today. So the exercise for today is take a little bit of time, you know, find a couple minutes to meditate if you can. And if you can't, or if there's another opportunity that you find yourself being a little critical of yourself through the course of the day, if you hear that little negative self-talk going on, try to pause and ask yourself if that's how you would speak to a child. Would you offer those same words, or would you be encouraging and supportive? Would you offer a little bit of love and positivity? We've got a great session tonight. My friend Chris, one of our New Leaf meditation instructors, is going to facilitate a conversation for experienced meditators. Beginners are welcome too, but really, you know, it's not a heavily programmed conversation. Chris has got some thoughts he's going to get us kicked off, but we really just want to come together and talk about, like, when we've been meditating for a while, what are some of the things we struggle with? What's challenging about the practice? When we fall off the wagon, how do we get back on again? When we encounter sort of habitual challenges or aversions in our practice, what do we do about that? I don't think Chris and I have all the answers. We're just meditation practitioners like you guys are. But we've all got a little bit of experience in this. And I think we can share some of our challenges, share some of our successes, and support each other. We can workshop this out as a group. So I hope you'll join us. That's at 9 p.m. tonight. You can go to newleafmeditation.org/events and find the login information for that call. Last thing, again, I know I said this at the beginning, but thank you, everybody. I've just loved being in touch with so many of you. I really appreciate the work of all of our volunteers. If we haven't connected yet, you know, drop me an email. It's just me on the other side of these emails. You can reply. I love hearing from you. I genuinely appreciate a chance to get to chat. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy day 5, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.